when I'm not feeling what is quite honestly a surprising amount of rage at finding out the new Magnum PI doesn't have a mustache. I like to answer questions that I get on YouTube, so let's get to it. John, totally unrelated, but do you think Hendrix is the best guitarist ever? I don't understand how people think he's the best ever over players like Steve Vai and Eric Johnson, who have just as good as composing as Jimmy, and are in another league when it comes to technical skill. I understand he was innovative, but there's a difference between innovative and best ever. I mean, that's kind of the age-old guitar question, isn't it? Who's the best guitarist ever? I am in the Jimi Hendrix is the best ever camp. I kind of have always been that way. But actually, as I get older, I really feel like Jimmy Page is probably closer to the top spot than ever before. And you're totally right. Guys like Eric Johnson, Steve Vai, those guys are technically superior at what they do. But to me, and I know a lot of other people, that doesn't really mean a whole lot when it comes to like ranking the best. And again, no disrespect to those guys, but that's just not really my taste. And listening to players like that, I don't really get the same kind of expressiveness and really just kind of like songwriting and storytelling that I feel Hendrix was the best ever at, and Jimmy Page is like really excellent at too. Because I think at the end of the day, any kind of art, any kind of music, no matter what you're playing, kind of comes down to storytelling, really. You know, there's a whole other school of thought that like proficiency is kind of like the merit that we determine of being the best. But I think just from like an artistic standpoint, I just feel like Hendrix was the best ever. And I think maybe some of it comes down to like innovation. I think maybe innovation is a little bit overblown because like, yeah, he was doing things that other guitarists weren't. But it's not like there are guys today that have just copied what Hendrix did and are the best at that. You know, like when it comes to like innovation, usually it's like somebody starts something and then over time people kind of like just get better at that. I feel like Hendrix is still kind of in a class of his own at what he did. So innovation is definitely part of it, but I really think it comes down to like storytelling and expressiveness through his riff writing, his soloing, and his compositions, right? I think Jimmy Page is like right there as far as just kind of like just connecting with people in like just a very visceral musical way through his playing. Again, I think Annie Clark from St. Vincent is right there too as far as like a modern guitar player, which I know a lot of people are like, well, I don't understand like what's so great about her playing. And I think it really just comes down to making a connection with certain people. And that's why I think it's like really hard to explain, and that's why it launches all these debates about like who's better and stuff like that. Because there's a lot of great guitar players out there, so you know, to say who the best is just really a personal thing. By the way, I just gotta shout out my man Davidas. He was here yesterday just laying down some tracks, and like that guy could possibly be the best guitar player ever. It's so crazy what he does as far as like on a technical level, but also still being expressive in what I consider like a storytelling way. That's why I also think Elliott Smith is one of the best guitar players ever. Just because like the way that he speaks with his instrument is a way that just I really connect with, and I know a lot of people connect with in the same way. So obviously there's something to it. And it's not like people who don't think Steve Vai is the best guitar player ever is just they're just like idiots. In fact, it's almost like people who believe that almost have to go the other way when it comes to guitar players like Steve Vai and Eric Johnson and even like Petrucci. And it's almost like we feel the need to discount how good they are to make the argument for why they're not the best players ever, which is so stupid. It's just like, they're all amazing guitar players. It's just maybe just a different taste and a different kind of metric as far as what you evaluate it. But I'm definitely on Team Hendrix, and I probably always will be. That sounds sick. Thank you very much. This is in relation to one of the Instagram posts I did on a pedal video, and I really do feel like my stuff is sounding a lot better. Just like the recorded stuff, just some of like just the regular guitar Instagram posts and stuff. And believe it or not, I think a lot of that might be the cables. Runway Audio sent me these new guitar cables, and I've always just been kind of like whatever with cables for the longest time. But I actually feel like I hear a difference with these, so I definitely just want to give them a shout out. And I will link you in the description to like a coupon code too, if you're interested, because I can vouch for these cables. They're fantastic. I plug them in. I feel like things just sound good. And I've had a lot of broken cables over the years, so it's good to just have like a quality cable, and I feel like it makes a difference. I guess I've been kind of converted in that way. Like I said, I used to just buy like the super cheap Guitar Center cables, and I've since graduated to a more refined taste. So check out Runway Audio because they're awesome cables, and I use them, and they actually come in cool colors and stuff, so check those out. How many teddy bears will be shamed at the hands of Sean Daniel? Hopefully the proceeds of this video will be donated to some kind of teddy bear shelter. This is actually a comment on my baking show, Boss Bakes, on the other channel. If you've never seen that, you should definitely watch that because it's probably the best episode we've had that launched last week. Damn you, Teddy! You smug little bear! This is all your fault. And I really go hard in on Teddy's organic peanut butter. So, I'll link that below because that's definitely worth a watch. Keep the guitar, lose the comedy. I gotta say, this is actually kind of the opposite comment that I usually get. So I will take that as a compliment for my guitar playing. And I'm sorry that your sense of humor is just so unevolved that you can't enjoy the videos like the finer, more appreciative people out there do. Do you like the Albert Lee HH or the St. Vincent better? So speaking of Annie Clark and St. Vincent, I've had a chance to get my hands on the Music Man St. Vincent, which is somewhat derived from the Music Man Albert Lee that I've had for the longest time, that I bought in a late night eBay binge the night after seeing Annie Clark just like blow my mind live. I love the Music Man St. Vincent, but it is not the Albert Lee. I think that the Albert Lee is the best guitar that Music Man makes. Of the ones that I've played, I haven't played all of them. It's just, the playability of the neck is amazing. I thought they said that they were actually taking that Albert Lee neck, because Annie Clark, again, used to play one of these, and putting it on the St. Vincent, but it is a different neck, and it feels great, but I feel like the playability of this is just, it's just so good. I just love the Albert Lee so much. I think it's one of the best guitars out there. The access to the higher frets is definitely superior than it is to the non-cutaway body of the St. Vincent. Again, awesome guitar, for sure, but they're just kind of different animals. And I just like the way this kind of fits better. So I'm a huge super fan for the Albert Lee. So if you're definitely looking for something interesting, try to get your hands on an Albert Lee. In fact, my buddy Justin, who's on the channel a lot, has pretty much the exact same one in burgundy. And it's an awesome guitar. You won't regret it. Sean, how long did it take you to know all these different alphabetic keys and then memorize the numbers, Old West? So basically the question here is how long does it take to learn basic music theory? And I think you can learn it in a day as long as it's explained in a way that makes sense to you. For the longest time, it didn't make any sense to me. I didn't really know how to use the numbers, what keys really even, meant as far as like how to populate them. So the best way that I can totally explain it, if you don't know like what a 1 chord or 2 chord and stuff like that is, learning all the different notes in a key, is basically there are 7 alphabetic letters that populate music, right? And every key is just made of those. And it's almost teaching it incorrectly, I think, is like the easiest way to do it. Like if we say the notes in the key of A, right? There's the 7 notes, right? There's an A, a B, a C, a D, a E, an F, and a G. It's just the letters of the alphabet. So anybody can know that. Like the notes in the key of A are A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now, that's actually not correct because in the notes of A major, it's actually A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. But I think it's just easier to wrap your head around that just every letter gets represented and not worry about the sharps and flats at first and let those kind of blanks fill in as you go along because it can be daunting being like, I have to know like where all the sharps are, where all the flats are. Basically, every key just has a letter in the alphabet, A through G in it, and it starts on a certain one, and then it's like, okay, well, how you apply that practically is, well, let's play the 3rd chord in the key of A, B, C. Okay, now, don't play a C minor or a C major in that key. Then it's like, all right, well, you can use this shape. Know the 3rd chord is minor, and then whatever this shape is, this is the C in A. Happens to be a C sharp. That's a minor chord, okay? And that works for anything. Like, what are the notes in the key of B? Well, first just be like, all right, there's B. Learn the major scale shape. Where I think a great way to do it is just thinking of a hand position where it's middle, pinky, index, ring, pinky, right? Starting on the 7th fret of the low E string, which is a B note. So again, even just that right there can be daunting for some people to start. All you have to do is memorize the list in order: E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, as root notes along one string. learn that one hand position, middle pinky, index, ring, pinky, where every finger gets a fret. And then know that wherever you start, there's going to be some kind of letter, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Those are the notes in the key of B. And be like, all right, well, don't worry about the sharps or flats. Eventually fill those in later, where it's like, okay, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B, right? That's a lot of sharps, but that stuff is going to make more sense later once you understand that just there's a representative, whether it's sharp or flat, of every letter alphabetically in any key, right? So once you kind of see numbers as that way, I think it's a lot easier to be like, all right, well, now I can play like a 1, a 6, and a 3 in any key. I'll just start, thinking of like a linear alphabet type thing. And like the key of D, whatever those notes are, let's say I don't know where the sharps or whatever are. If a 1, 6, 3 in the key of D is, all right, well, 1 is D, right? And it's going to be some kind of major chord because, like we said, 1, 4, and 5 are major, 2, 3, and 6 are minor in separate videos. I know I'm kind of pulling information from different spots here. It's like, all right, well, what's the 6 in D? I think a lot of times it's easier to count backward. If D is 1, C is 7, B is 6, it's going to be some kind of B, right? And then 3, D, E, F, right? So it's okay. It's going to be a D, a B, and an F. And then, you play around with this, like, all right, D, there's, okay, B minor, that fits. And then F, well, now it's not that, must be F sharp. And then just kind of like having the sharps fill in. Again, that's just kind of my philosophy. I think that a lot of people respond to that better instead of like the daunting task of being like, okay, well, D has 2 sharps, find out where they are, which again, that works for a lot of people. I just know that teaching, it seems to resonate better when it's like, listen, every key just has a letter of the alphabet. Don't worry about the sharps and flats at first, because getting into the numbering of chord scale degrees, I think, is the most important thing. And again, that can be learned in just a day, really. It's just kind of breaking through that barrier and equating a shape, a hand shape, into really just kind of like a coded diagram of where all those chords end up going, right? And really forgetting about the sharps and flats at first, I think, is a great way to remove that barrier and be like, all right, well, maybe C is actually going to be sharp in the key of A. I just know there's going to be a C representative, whether it's C flat, C natural. Natural just means not being flat or sharp, or C sharp in there. And then eventually, like I said, filling in those dots later. So that could be a terrible way to explain theory to some people, but I do think that like just the amount of information that people try to like take in at one time when they're trying to learn music theory, where it's like, okay, well, I need to know how keys are populated, how chords are made, what sharps and flats mean. I think it's really overwhelming to take all that in at once. I think it's easier to simplify some things, even though if eventually you have to correct the way that you learn. And again, that's just, I've seen results from that method of teaching. Doesn't work for everybody, but it works for a lot of people. So if you disagree, come at me. So for listening homework, I'm going to force you guys to listen to more St. Vincent because I'm going to keep flying that flag until I'm forced not to. So check that out. I think, again, her earlier stuff compositionally is just so good. It's just so good. So please, check it out. If you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot.